we want to thank you all for coming today, but we're about to get started. We have a lot of information that we want to give to you today. So here's what I'm going to ask. Okay, I'm going to ask that you focus up for me, that we calm down. Okay, this is a very, very important topic that we're going to be speaking about today. And if it's something that's important to you, which I'm sure it is since you're here, that we want everybody to be able to understand what's going on. So we're going to turn this over to our Master of Ceremonies, and we're going to go ahead and get started.
Hi, guys. Okay, first of all, I want to thank the media being here, because without this coverage, no one would know what's going on right now. And I want to thank you guys for being here as well. You guys weren't pulled out of this class. You guys weren't forced to go here. You guys are here because of your own decisions. And I just want to thank you guys a lot. So in case you didn't know, I'm Nicholas Trujillo. I'm a senior at Tucson High School. And how this all started, pretty much, was actually SB 1476. If you guys don't know what that is, that's the new budget cuts that's supposed to take effect in the school years 16 and 17, okay? Now with those, a lot of stuff is being cut. A lot of money is going to be cut, and a lot of the classes that we like may or may not be here. Like the CTE classes, journalism, welding, auto tech, stuff like that. We're in this forum right now because of an Instagram post. Morgan Darby, you guys know her, junior, sitting right there. She's the one who first posted it, and although she didn't get that many likes, I wanted to make sure that everyone pretty much knew it. So if you guys want to thank anybody, thank Morgan. She's the one who actually started this. Now here to speak to us today, we have 4 speakers today. The first one is Dr. H.T. Sanchez, Superintendent of TUSD, Representative Raul Grijalva of the 3rd District of Arizona, Adelina Grijalva, School Board President, and TUSD CTE Coordinator Chuck McCollum. So as these guys are speaking, just absorb this information. And for those of you who are going to turn 18 or are 18, register to vote. Because nothing will scare Doug Ducey more than an informed voter. I now hand it off to Dr. H.T. Sanchez.
Good afternoon.
Never mind.
All right. I'm all right. Thanks for asking. The first thing I want to say is how impressed I am as superintendent of TUSD that you, the student body of Tucson High School, along with our guests from Pueblo and Choya who are here, have decided that as opposed to just sitting and doing nothing, or walking out and sending a message that might be unclear for people who don't understand why you're walking out, that you decided to come in here, sit down, get the information, be informed, and act. Because you are the future of Arizona. There's a choice. There's a choice. We can all sit and allow the legislature in Phoenix to continue to fund prisons or to fund you. We can also do nothing and be uninformed and just sit here and allow big companies that make billions of dollars a year get tax breaks, or maybe that money can be redirected for you. My personal preference is that you are supported. My personal preference is that you are educated. My personal preference for a better Arizona, a better Tucson, is for you to take hold of this state, because it's your state, It's your future and it's your responsibility, and I'm honored to be here today to introduce some people. I'm honored to be here today to share some facts and information with you. So thank you for your attention and thank you for being here. When we hit the question and answer section, I want to tell you how many millions of dollars are going to companies for tax breaks. So somebody needs to ask that. And when we get to the questions about prisons, I want to tell you how many millions of dollars are going to prisons. So somebody needs to ask me about that. And when I get to how much money is being taken away from you, I hope you ask me about that, because I want to tell you that too. Because those of you who are 18, I want you to raise your hand. If you're 18, raise your hand. You better be registered. You better be registered. If you're 18 and you're not registered, somebody needs to take you to get registered to vote. Because this is your future. This is your future. Being informed is only half of it. The other half is going out and voting. Y'all get that? So I'm going to hand the microphone over so that you can hear from some of our guests who have taken time out of their busy day to let you know what's going on. Because you are that important to us. You are worth it. And at this point in time today, I'll say I'm the proudest superintendent in the state of Arizona and the United States.
Thank you, Dr. Sanchez, for those wonderful words. Next up, we have Representative Raul Grijalva of the 3rd District of Arizona.
Thank you very much. And when Adelita and Superintendent invited me, I wanted to be here. 2 things. To thank you, number 1, for being here and for having what people don't think young people have, the intelligence and the guts to say, this is wrong. And thank you very much. And being in this grand school, Tucson High, it's a privilege. And I also want to tell you that a lot of times when you criticize the government or an elected official, somebody will always say, well, you're not being patriotic. And let me tell you, this is the most patriotic thing you can do. You are critical. To be critical and be a patriot is what is encouraged and needed in this country. Let's just talk a little bit about education. One of the most ignorant decisions being made in Washington, and the ignorant decision being already made here in the state with Governor Ducey's budget and the legislators that voted for it, ignorant. Because the whole point of this country is that we have to invest in our people. We have to make sure that every generation is a little bit better than the generation behind them. And the only way we can do this in this country is with the greatest institution in the world, public education, because it's a great equalizer. Public education doesn't care. Public education doesn't care where you come from. Education doesn't care where you come from. They don't care who your mommy and your daddy is. They don't care how much money you have. They don't care what color your skin is. And they don't care what zip code you live in. Education is an equalizer, because if you have the discipline and the desire and you acquire the tools that are available, then you start living out the dreams that you all have. And to deny people's dreams with a budget that robs our schools of an investment in their kids, to rob our community of your talent and what you can bring to this community to make it better, I think that is unpatriotic, it is wrong, and it's arrogant, and it's ignorant. You know, when a long time ago, when dinosaurs walked on the south side, and I was your age, going to high school, issues that we confronted were issues of civil rights, that are still with us. We confronted issues about empowerment, ending discrimination, and we made sure that people heard us. Did we do it right every time? No. We messed up sometimes. We overreached. We didn't get our message across. So if I have any advice for you, and you can take it or leave it, is about focus. You know, the people that made these decisions need to hear from you. 400 West Congress, Governor Ducey has an office here in Tucson, they should hear from you. The legislators that voted for this need to hear from you. The members people that continue to be elected to office and continue to take apart public education because they have theirs, their family have theirs, and the rest of you, too bad. That's not the way this country works. This country is about everybody's got the equal opportunity to make their lives better. And to deny people an education is to not give them an equal opportunity to get better. And our fight is a very important fight. It might not be to make things the way we want it, but the fight has to be about keeping the worst from happening. And the worst from happening is to rob our schools, give them over to private schools that make a profit, rob our schools and our teachers of the resources they need, and give them to something that's unaccountable. And at the end of the day, what will happen to the state? At the end of the day, some people would have gotten really rich with private schools, for-profit schools, and the rest of us will be paying their bills, and we will see our schools not able to produce the resources and the talent that we need in this community. Tucson High should be very proud. Your teachers and principals should be very proud of you. I am extremely impressed that you took the time to be here because, you know, at the end of the day, as some of us go into the sunset, it's your world, it's your future, and it's your risk. And I would suggest that if you want to make sure this world of yours that you inherit, with all its warts and its problems, that you inherit, and you want to make it better, today you started that process. Thank you very much.
Up next to speak for us is Adelina Grijalva, the school board president.
Thank you. I never like to speak after my father, the congressman, because he imparted a lot of wisdom to all of us. But what I think is important is that those of you who are graduating this year and moving on, the cuts that we're talking about are going to implicate you in real time. Because there are cuts to community colleges, cuts to universities, really significant programs that are going to make it very difficult for our universities and Pima Community College to compete. The problem that I have many problems with the budget that came forward. One of the problems that I have is how selective it was. Pima County and Maricopa County community colleges didn't receive funding, but other counties did. That doesn't make sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is we keep talking about how important it is for you to be career ready. And yet the career ready programs were the ones that were cut. I have a really hard time wrapping my head around that. The fact that, you know, when I heard that there is a possibility of you being mad enough to get up and say, this budget is not going to work for me because you're not going to take my education away from me, I was very proud. I was also on the board when this happened a couple years ago and was also very proud of the students. But what I think is important is that if you're going to come to 1010 and say, we want an education, me, the superintendent, the board members, we could all join you. I was on the corner 400 West Congress with my daughter, who's 8 years old, with a sign saying no more cuts to public education. It's not okay to do that. And so if you come to me and say, don't take my education away from me, I agree. The problem is that those cuts are coming down to us. We're gonna have to have a public hearing to talk about where those cuts in our budget are supposed to come from. So I wanna hear from you, and I wanna make sure that the legislators that voted for this budget hear from you, that Governor Ducey hears from you. They're the ones that have the opportunity to make the changes now. We, unfortunately, have to deal with the aftermath. So it's kind of like at home, you have a budget. Let's say you have $100 a week. You have to make sure you have gas in the car. You have to make sure there's food on the table. You have to make sure that you have a little bit of money for emergency. They're cutting those discretionary funds from us. So the things that we're supposed to cut back on are transportation. How many of you get here on the bus? They want us to cut transportation costs, electricity. Let's all bring our candles to school. How are we, I mean, those are the things that we're gonna have to look at. There are certain things that we can't help. We have to provide you with food. We have to provide you with transportation. We want to, and you should demand from your legislature and governor that you have the training to be able to go into a career should you choose to, right after high school. So I'm very proud that you are all here to get informed, because those of you who are not voting age have parents who are. Your demographic is the largest up-and-coming voting bloc, and no one caters to you because you, as a generation, don't vote. The baby boomers, my dad's generation, they all vote. So we have people that are voting that don't want more taxes, that don't need to invest in education because all their grandkids, everyone is out of school. You are the ones that they need to hear from. So I am going to ask Superintendent Sanchez to make sure that we have opportunities for all of you at our schools to register to vote. I don't care what party you vote for, you just need to vote. They need to hear from you. So thank you so much for your advocacy. You should be very proud of yourselves that you're getting the information you need to contact the people that can make a difference. Thank you.
Up next, we have Governing Board Member Cam Juarez.
Buenas tardes, good afternoon. Let him hear you up in Phoenix, guys. Good afternoon. I was saying to Ms. Grijalva, I'm so glad that this isn't a political rally, that this is you all engaging. This is you engaging in the democratic process. And you know, if it's not enough that they're impacting you at the high school and K-12 level in general, the cuts that they made to the university, those of you that are graduating and moving on to one of our local state universities, you're going to be impacted there too. And it's going to impact you not just while you're at the U of A, it's going to impact you 5, 10, even 15 years down the road when you look at your student loan bills. So this is not just something that's going to impact this generation, it's going to possibly impact the next generation. So, as Ms. Grijalva said, we're not telling you how to vote or who to vote for. It's about you stepping up to the plate, listening to your consciousness, and doing that. So, let them hear you. Just because you're not 18 doesn't mean you can't write a letter up to Phoenix, or just let them know how you feel. That's all I got for you guys. I'm also very proud to serve you here locally in Tucson, and very proud of our congressman for being here. Very proud of Ms. Grijalva, our board president, and Dr. Sanchez for stepping up to the plate, listening to you all. You guys are going to be an amazing generation. You already are. Thank you.
Our last speaker right now is CTE Coordinator Chuck McCollum.
Okay, good afternoon. First off, show of hands, how many of you are career and technical education students? All right, that's great. I want to tell you something. Last night, before I get started with my presentation, I was able to go down to the science fair, the SARSEF Science Fair. And I saw some Pueblo guys walk in. Are my Pueblo students over here? Were Pueblo students in the room? Anywhere? Well, I got to see the science fair projects that were put together by Dr. Margaret Welch's bioscience classes, by Dr. Lettuce's bioscience classes at Pueblo. I got to see the robotics from Miss Anne Marie Condis at Palo Verde. And I'll tell you what, there was nobody better than what was there from TUSD. Okay, they were outstanding. Now, what I'm here today is to take you through, we're gonna have to focus up here, because what I'm here today is to take you through the nuts and the bolts of how the budget is affecting career and technical education from a funding standpoint. I need you to settle down, because this is not easy. School finance is difficult, but you're not young kids anymore. You are able to make choices for yourselves. And as the previous three speakers said, this is up to you as to whether this continues. So please pay attention so I can give you the facts, because education is the biggest sword we have in this fight against this budget. Okay. As you can see on the left, here's a list of the CTE Career and Technical Education courses we have here at Tucson High School. It goes from everywhere from accounting to graphics to welding. We serve over 2,570 students here at Tucson High. And as a district, Career and Technical Education serves 7,746 students. Now, I'll tell you what, you have about 3,100 students here at Tucson High, okay? 2,500 are in these programs. That's an amazing number, and one that we can't lose, okay? This is our current funding mechanism and how we receive funding to be able to support the classes we do. Our district as a whole receives what's called its full district funding, or ADM. What that means is, after you as a student reach 720 hours of instructional time, okay, that's in your classes, say math, science, English, social studies, a fine art, 5 classes, and we get funding for you. And we're going to look at it in a real simplistic way. We put it up here as $1. So once you reach that 720 hours, the state gives TUSD, let's say $1 for each of you, okay? So you take those core classes, you get that 720 hours, and then you decide that you want to be in Mr. Wiggins' precision manufacturing class. At that point, we are able to then generate another 0.25, and we're going to call that a quarter. Okay, so the true funding for a CTE Career Tech Ed student who reaches their 720 hours of instructional time and then takes an extra course that is a CTE course will earn another quarter. That quarter then goes to JTED Central, who distributes it. And right now, we get 65% of the funding we earn, and they keep 35%. That 65% equates to $2.9 to $3 million for our CTE programs in the district. Okay? So this is how the funding is right now. Right now. This is what has changed. This is the exact wording in the budget, and it's real complicated. It's hard to understand, and it's hard to understand for adults, and it's hard to understand for legislators. So I'm going to read the one that kind of hurts us. It's the first bullet. It says, changes the base support level for districts and charters in which a student is also enrolled in a JTED satellite program to 92.5% of what the district or charter would have otherwise received for the student. So I want you to think back to that dollar. Remember how you earned $1 for being in class for 720 hours? Well, guess what? What the state is saying is you now give up 7.5% of that dollar because you're a fundable JTED student in one of our classes at Tucson High. The misnomer everybody has is the word satellite. We're not talking about the nursing program at Camino Seco. We're not talking about the CNA or the culinary program at Santa Rita. What we're talking about is classes on high school sites, whether it be at Tucson High or at Pueblo or at Choya or at Saguaro. Those are what we call satellite. That was what was confusing people. And that is part of the reason that people didn't understand what they were supporting. So now we've lost 7.5%. Go ahead. We lost 7.5% of that funding for each CTE student that we report to JTED. If this law was in effect right now, this year, we as a district would have lost approximately $1.37 million in funding from our ADM or district M&O funding. Now that would affect math classes, English classes, art classes, all those other core classes besides CTE. We can't do that. That was unacceptable. No district in the state of Arizona would accept that. So the funding changed for a third time, basically. Nick? And this is what it looks like now. So you see the dollar. You see that you took a CTE class and they took 7.5% out of that dollar. That just goes back to the state, basically. Okay? They kept the quarter. That was great. We still earned a quarter, and that went to JTED. And they still turned around and funded us at 65%. So guess what? I still got that $3 million. It came right into my department. But here's the change. What they told districts they could do is take a portion of that $3 million that was going to JTED, or going to our CTE classes, and use it to supplement the 7.5% that they took out of that dollar. So that $1.37 million I talked to you about would come right off the top of that $3 million and go right back into M&O funding. So really, did they cut our district? Yes. Are they really stealing from Peter to pay Paul? Yes. So that $3 million just went from 3 to $1.6 million. And that is how the cut was made. Now, to bring to you, or to let you know what the effect it would have on our district in the career and technical education area. Here are some expenditures each year, for this year, as a matter of fact, in these programs. This does not count teacher salary at all. This is straight up capital supplies. At Tucson High and Choya, we have a welding program. It costs $37,000 and change to provide the supplies needed for those students in welding. Precision manufacturing, which is Mr. Wiggins' program here at Tucson High. We have spent $49,000, almost $50,000 on that program this year. And bioscience, Tucson High, Pueblo, and Palo Verde, we have spent $61,000 on those programs. These are not, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm going to tell you straight up, these are not cheap programs. They're enhanced for you to be able to be ready to move to your next step, whether it be college, whether it be the workforce. It's our responsibility to prepare you. And by cutting these, and when I say cut, I'm not planning on these programs going away. But what I do have to plan is that 37,000 may turn into 15. That 50,000 into 25, and that 60,000 into 30. At that point, are we providing you what you need to move to the next level? That is how deep these cuts are. And they don't look on the surface like they're bad, but when you look at the numbers, they're not good at all, folks. Not good at all. So, what do we do? What do we do? That's the question. Okay, now the last three speakers have spoken about you can get out there and vote, and you can write letters, and that's great. And let me tell you something else I'm really proud of. In career and technical education, we talk about preparing you to be professionals. By sitting here today, instead of walking to 1010, you're proving that fact to the outside world, that you could be professionals, that you could sit here and listen intelligently to the facts, look at the figures, and make a decision. I can't tell you how proud I am of our career technical education students and our teachers. It is a crucial part of your education. It's a crucial part of the economic growth of the state of Arizona. Ask your parents what's their favorite class in high school, and many of them will say something like auto, or culinary, or bioscience. Those are areas that they don't forget. Okay, we're going to turn this over now. We have some guest speakers, some kids' testimonial from students. I want to thank you for your time, and if I have any questions, we'll be done.
We're not done. Technically, we're not done, but you guys can go to class if you want. Right now, I have 4 people whose J10 and CTE has affected their lives greatly, actually a lot. And I want to give them the chance to voice their opinion so the people in Phoenix can hear us and see what kind of effects this budget has. So if you guys will please welcome to the stage Senior Nathaniel Gallegos.
Hello, and thank you for coming today. My name is Nathaniel Gallegos, and I'm a senior here at Tucson High. Throughout my years here, I have taken multiple J10 and CTE classes. These include classes like PC management and maintenance, accounting, advanced accounting, biotechnology. All of these classes have provided me with skills essential to today's. These classes have provided me with essential skills to today's workplace and modern day jobs. I have learned through hands-on experience how to disassemble and reassemble a computer, manage money, and keep financial records. I have been I'm given the privilege to work in a U of A lab on current research on Alzheimer's disease. I've been working in the cognition and neuroimaging lab throughout the year this year. I have learned techniques in this lab that you can't learn in a traditional classroom setting. That's why these CTE classes are so important to us students. Through my CTE classes, I have realized that my passion is to go on to the U of A and get my PhD and go into and become a scientific researcher for Alzheimer's disease research. Thanks to my CTE and JTEC classes, I have attained over 10 Pima County College credits and 6 U of A science credits. This will give me a major advantage in college. This is just part of my story. I'm only one student that is being affected by these classes. There are many students here that I have witnessed and do amazing things with their CTE classes. Students are able to compete in state and nationally to demonstrate the knowledge that they have gained through their CTE classes. These classes really get the students motivated and inspired to achieve their goals and set new goals. Tucson High, one of the main things that it's known for is its variety of classes that it offers. These are mostly the CTE and JTEC classes that they offer because we have some of the most classes here. These classes teach students the essential skills needed for their career, for later on in life, and teaches them how to be successful in college. These classes will not only produce a more educated community, but it will also boost the economy when these students move on and join the workforce. This is why we need our CTE and JTEC classes. Thank you for coming, and I hope that CTE and JTEC continue getting the funding that
they deserve. Thank you, Nathaniel. Wonderful speech. Hope it's gotten through Doug Ducey. But up next, we have sophomore, that's right, sophomore Nathaniel's sister, sophomore Jessica Gallegos. Please welcome her to the stage.
Hello, my name is Jessica Gallegos. I am currently a sophomore here at THMS. Last year, as a freshman, I joined the THMS Journalism 1-2 class. When I first registered for journalism, I thought, oh, this sounds interesting. I never thought that within these 2 years that it would become one of my top priority classes. Then a little more into the year, my teacher, James Borland, offered me the opportunity to join the newspaper staff or the yearbook staff. I joined the yearbook staff, and now it has transformed to one of my favorite courses here at THMS. I look forward to going to this class on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. This class has helped me in so many ways, not only academically, but socially too. I have always had very bad stage fright. Although I haven't fully overcome it, yearbook has helped me feel more comfortable with public speaking due to interviewing students, staff, and attending many school events. A couple of years ago, I would never have been able to get up on this stage voluntarily and give this speech to all of you here. I feel that this CTE class has helped me come out of my comfort zone, learn how to be business professional, help fellow students, and work with other students. I now know how to deal with problems in many areas, such as communication, organization, scheduling, and prioritizing. I am here today to voice my concerns over the budget cuts. If these budget cuts are put in place, then our students will be held back from their full potential. The wide selection of JTED and CTE classes are so important here because students are able to narrow down the field of study they want to go into later in their future. It gives students the opportunity to explore career paths or gain experience in familiar career ideas. Even if this bill doesn't revoke the JTED and CTE programs entirely, the programs will be unable to sustain the large amount of students enrolled in these classes. I am grateful to be a part of publications for businesses of Tucson High, not only because I was able to be part of the yearbook, which will hold memories for every student at Tucson High, but also because, as I stated before, it has helped me come out of my comfort zone, and I found that I love journalism and photography through this CTE class. Which I would have never realized if we didn't have the CTE class publications for business. Thank you.
Okay, up next, Junior Evelyn Bolaños.
Hey guys, so I take and have taken multiple CTE classes, and this year I am taking welding, biotechnology, and a JTED class that is veterinary science. These classes all help me, and 3 years ago I would have never pictured myself in any of these classes. With welding, I am the vice president of the welding club, and through it I have competed in the competition this year and going to states. When I joined it as a freshman, I was accidentally put into welding. I had never actually picked that elective as mine. And once I actually tried it, I automatically loved it. With this class, I've learned to actually publicly speak and actually put myself out there. I actually have huge stage fright, and I've never spoken in a huge crowd. But with this class, my teacher has always persuaded me to go out of my comfort zone and get what I want. I honestly do not know what electives I would take if none of these CTE classes existed. Tucson High has so many choices. I've also taken journalism, and I really liked it too. Mr. Borland is a really great teacher, and honestly, I don't know what I would do if, due to these budget cuts, many of these CTE teachers were to be fired, such as Borland, Zivic, Mr. Goodkin, Mr. Wiggins. These are all teachers we love, and without them, I don't think many of us would be taking all of these electives. If these classes didn't exist, we wouldn't be in them. We would have to take something else, and these classes really make Tucson High a very special school. So CTE classes and J10 classes have become really close to me. Those are really the only electives I take. That's why I came to Tucson High. Well, through welding, I can get certified and be ready to go and work in a welding company as soon as I graduate. That prepares me for my future, and I don't know what I would do without welding now that it has given me the opportunity to actually get my certification and be employed once I graduate. Through JTED, my passion is working with animals, and I want to become a vet. Veterinary science, this JTED class is preparing me in ways that I would have never imagined before. So without this, if this class were to be affected, I don't know what I would do, because with this class, I can become a veterinary assistant within 2 to 3 years. So my main role in this was I was helping Morgan, since our JTED teacher for veterinary science gave us the encouragement. If we want our future, we need to fight for it, for our education. And so I encourage everyone to do the same thing. It's your future, and you have a right to stand up for it. It's your education.
One of our last speakers, she's also been affected by J10 and CTE, and it's affected her life greatly. So please welcome to the stage Junior Morgan Darby, the one who started this all.
Hey guys. Hi. So let me just start saying I could not have done this alone. Evelyn and Nick have been such a great help, and we've been partners in this, and we couldn't have done it without all of you guys, so let's give a hand. We're all here because we care about what happens to our JTED and CTE classes. Classes that we all love, am I right? Myself, I take 3 JTED CTE classes. I take biotechnology. How many guys are taking biotech? Journalism. And JTED off campus. So let's start with journalism. I've been taking journalism with Mr. Borland ever since my freshman year. And let me just say, I wasn't sure if I even wanted to take that class. Mr. Borland's pretty crazy. But I decided to stick with it, and I couldn't have been happier. Mr. Borland has taught me so many things in leadership and how to put myself out there, just like Jessica and Evelyn have just said. And I couldn't have gotten there anywhere else. This year, I'm actually the vice president of Yearbook. I'm the co-editor-in-chief, so you guys should buy a yearbook this year. And also, I take biotechnology with Miss Welch, and she's an amazing teacher. So let's hear it for Miss Welch. Biotechnology provides so many opportunities for students, and many students have gone on to the U of A to do research, as Nathan stated, and it inspired him to begin to do research in Alzheimer's disease. Isn't that pretty amazing? That's just one example of students and how they've been affected. Myself, I want to be a veterinarian also, as Evelyn said. I want to specialize in marine veterinarians and save marine animals, and my JTED classes really helped me with that. This year, I competed in state for aquaculture and placed 5th place as an individual for state, and my team placed 5th place as well, so that was really awesome. Without my JTED class, that also inspired me to start this whole movement, I wouldn't have even done that or considered competing in aquaculture, and I learned so much from that experience. I learned what that industry is all about and how to identify different species in marine life. And I mean, these are the experiences we need, like in the workforce, we need these different experiences in our high school life to be able to be successful in the workforce and contribute to our community. Students here at Tucson High are encouraged every day to do the best and they can, be the best they can be, and pursue their dreams. And that's what we're doing. But how can we do that if we are robbed of our JTED and CTE classes? Many students, including myself, give up time hanging out with their friends and doing fun teenager activities because we would rather spend our time in after-school JTED classes. We choose to learn instead of play. We choose to follow our dreams of becoming nurses, firemen, EMTs, cosmetologists, vet techs, and welders. JTED and CTE students take their education seriously, and the issue of cutting JTED funding needs to be taken seriously as well. That's why we are here today, Badgers, to take a stand for JTED, to fight for our future. We are the future. We need to defend what we love, and in the end, to convince Arizona Governor Doug Ducey to make the right choice concerning JTED students. Because this hurts all of us, and we need to fight for our education. Thank you.
So as you guys have seen on the chairs, Christian Lerma, you know, the president of FBLA, he had to leave unfortunately for work, but he gave me his speech to say to you guys. Good afternoon, Badgers. I'm not Christian Lerma, but my name is Christian Lerma, and I'm serving as the 2014-2015 Tucson High FBLA president. As my term is close to the end and graduation is near, I think about how grateful I am for having been a part of this career and technical education experience. I started here at Tucson High as a shy freshman who didn't even know what FBLA stood for. For those of you that don't know what the acronym stands for, it stands for Future Business Leaders of America. And being in CTE, enhanced classes helped me shape me into the young man I am today. I have had the privilege to obtain several internships, one being at the City of the Tucson Mayor's Office. It allowed me to further my knowledge and experience in networking. I am thankful to CTE for providing me with the opportunity to meet role models and continue to have professional relationships with them today. At the beginning of this year, I received the news that I got hired by Starbucks. Oh my gosh. This opportunity again was made possible by CTE. Several students here that are currently enrolled in Ms. Rutherford's class, advanced classes, have had the opportunity to obtain paid internships as well. Like, give it up for Ms. Rutherford. I got you. CTE has made Tucson High overall a better place through providing classes that offer and provide students, a real-world experience. I can't think of Tucson High being the same without career technical education programs. Thank you all for being here in attendance today. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Save JTED, I like it. That was Christian Lerma's speech, and next up is my speech, and then after that, Chuck McCollan and a lot of the other TUSD board members will be answering guys' question. So for me, JTED and CTE as it means for a lot of you guys, because I got text from a lot of you guys saying if you guys are going to speak up. And honestly, we all feel the same way. I'm pretty sure every student in here wants to come up here and express their ideas and make sure Doug Ducey knows what CTE and JTED is to us. I mean, these classes aren't just classes to get A's in. These classes aren't just classes to pass for graduation. These classes are our lives. We dedicate ourselves to these classes. These classes are the classes that we want to take and make a career out of it. We want to get paid for doing this stuff. Unfortunately, they can't happen at school, but you know, we can dream. But seriously, all these budget cuts, making these cuts to CTE will just break our dream. It'll break our dreams and our hopes about everything that we want to happen in our future careers. I mean, you take CTE and JTED out of Tucson High, what does it become? It just becomes, and I'm not trying to say anything bad to the dance classes, but it becomes a school that just teaches general topics and fine arts. Honestly, we all love fine arts. I'm not trying to say anything bad about it, but me personally, I love CTE classes more than fine arts. And if you take that away, you're taking that away from thousands of other students in the district. Woo! And yeah, that's what I have to say about JTED and CTE. So right now, if you guys aren't yet doing so, please tweet your questions to @TucsonUnified and we will answer as many as possible. And also, if your questions are too long, just screen cap it and tweet it anyways. Thank you.
So I'll read the question, and then I'll give you the best answer I have for it. So the first question is, what will the future of TUSD look like if budgets were to be cut? And so in particular to career and technical education, it's important for you to know that the budget cuts don't hit us hard next school year. It's the year after that. So if you're a junior, you'll probably be all right for 1 year. But if you're anything other than a junior, you're going to get hit by those cuts. And as Mr. McCollum talked about, we may not be able to offer as many sections or classes. There might be fewer choices offered. So those are some of the definite effects. So if you're a freshman or a sophomore, you need to go ahead and begin voicing you have the information, you need to begin voicing your concerns. And if you're a voting age and you want to look out for those that are underclassmen, you need to vote and you need to ensure that your voice is heard. So 2 things. Number 1, some of the equipment we have that's new and nice, we might not be able to update as often. The other one is some of the classes that you want, instead of 3 or 4 sections being offered throughout the day, there might only be 1 section or 2 sections. So that's what it would look like. Worst case, if they really hit us hard with budget cuts, we may have to pick and choose on that list you saw earlier of all the classes and eliminate some. So that's the answer to that one. The next one is, doesn't cutting funding from education contribute to a perpetual need for prisons? Whoever asked that question knows the answer. Yes. Right now, 5% of the Arizona state budget is tied to private prisons. In this budget, there are $5 million being shifted to add 1,000 to 3,000 new prison beds in Arizona in the upcoming year. All of that with the sheriff in Phoenix in Maricopa County saying he doesn't need any more prison beds, that he can house them where he is. But yet you have private prison companies who make money off of this. Look it up. But yes, the next one is, how can we as a school fight for these budget cuts? How can we fight against these budget cuts? I've already given you the answer. You have information up here, and Ms. Grijalva gave you part of the answer. Those of you who aren't voting age and your parents are a voting age, tell your parents to go out and vote. Tell your parents to send an email. Tell your parents to make a phone call. You educate your parents, just like we're here being educated. You got to go and play it forward, and you have to educate people at home who can vote. Your parents, your mother, your father, your uncles, your aunts, brothers and sisters that are over 18, educate them and tell them to help you voice this. The more they hear from you, the less willing they are. I want you to know, Just because the Senate and the House have passed the budget, the governor hasn't signed it yet. There's a little time. Doesn't mean he won't sign it, but there's a little time. Why was the budget voted on at night when the majority of the public was asleep? The governor basically said, if you stay until this thing's done. I like to say there's no rest for the wicked. And all of you in here who are high schoolers, you know you think you get away with things at night because nobody sees you. So I think it might have been a little bit of that too. What percent of the state's budget is going to prisons? 5% of the state's budget is going to prisons. Who met the 95% occupancy rate quota? So I want to clarify the quota piece. In prisons, the way this thing works is the state of Arizona has to pay these private prison companies as if 95% of the beds were filled. Even if 80% of the beds are filled, the state of Arizona takes tax dollars and writes them a check as if 90% of the beds were filled. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. If you don't show up to class 100% of the time, we don't get 100% of the funding. We don't get the benefit that the prisons get. So I want to say it again. It doesn't matter if the prisons have 70% of their beds full, they still get paid as if they have 90%. You, however, we don't get 100% of your funding unless you're here 100% of the time. We get back adjusted. They don't, up to 90%. Next one is, why should I pay taxes to a state that isn't using money for my benefit? It's a good question. It's a good question, but the bigger question is we need to be sure we vote for people that will use the taxes that are being paid in the way that you want them to be paid. And I think, again, Ms. Grijalva and Congressman Grijalva talked to, we have a lot of people in here who are voting age, and you probably didn't go out and vote this last time. You're probably wishing now, I should have, but we'll have the opportunity here soon again. So you got to remember that. That's the bigger issue. As a school, how can we continue to stand up against, got another one? All right. Okay, as a school, how can we continue to stand up against our state legislative powers in numbers, and we should continue to be loud? Before we leave, we'll put up a slide that has all of the email addresses of all of the legislators so you can email them, but I'm going to do you one better. Well, we're going to get to you here at Tucson High and across our district. We're going to get a list of all the people that voted for these budget cuts so that you can say, you know, I don't agree with you, and then all of the people who didn't vote for the budget cuts. So if you are supportive of those who supported you, saying thanks for not voting for them, or shame on you for voting for them, I'll leave that up to you, but we'll let you know who voted which way, and then you can communicate with them. But as Mr. McCollum said, be professional, be respectful, be dignified, and represent yourself, represent your family, and represent your school well. I answered this one. What can we do after this? Is the budget already in place, or can we do something to fix it? Two things. No, it hasn't been signed by the governor yet. And two, these cuts don't hit full effect for 1 more year. So we have 1 year. And if this is the first and last thing we do about it, that's going to be really sad. This can't be the first and last thing we do about it. We can't go home for the summer and forget about it, and then start next year and forget about it. And then when we start seeing our classes being cut, and you start seeing those opportunities going away, you want to do something about it. So I'm going to get with your student leadership to figure out how we continue to communicate what's your will to them. Excluding TUSD, how are the cuts impacting schools like Apache Junction, who due to cuts can now only afford 4-day school weeks? There are districts in the Phoenix area that are also going to 4-day school weeks. There are districts in the Phoenix area that are jumping class size to 40, 45 in all of their classes. There are school districts in the Phoenix area also that are closing schools and limiting school choices. In our situation, our intent going into this next year is to hold our class size as close to what we have it right now, 27, 30, 35, right in that range. We want to continue to offer the classes that you've signed up for and that you want to take. So we're going to do that for 1 more year, but we're going to have to really keep our eye on what happens after 15, 16, what happens in 16, 17. Yeah, this last one. Does Doug Ducey think he would be here does Doug Ducey think he would be where he is today if budget cuts were made to his education? You know, I'm not going to answer that question. I think you need to ask him that question. I don't know the answer. You need to ask him. You really do. I have this one last one. It says, we're not a generation of lazy or, I'm just reading it, so we're not a generation of lazy or stupid people. We want to work. How can we contribute to our society if we are robbed of the tools to do so? That's a great question. It's a great question. You all know the answer. You all have the information. We're going to give you the legislators' names. We're going to give you their email addresses. You have this information up here. You have the information. You have the knowledge. We have a year. We have a year. And if you're really passionate about this, you have what you need to begin working. You have some good student leaders, and we'll work with them, and we'll work with you. I'm going to say thank y'all for this. Thank y'all for the opportunity, and I'm proud of you.